All right, there's a few teams in the NBA as of so far for the 2021 NBA season. Pretty much have been a disappointment, and we expected a lot better from them. But hey, it's been 15 games. It still is somewhat early in the NBA as of today, so I'm not gonna go too much into this. But this is something that kind of caught my eye. So let's start off in the Eastern Conference. The first team is going to be the Washington Wizards. Now they are a 14th seed in the Eastern Conference. They do have a 3-8 record. And pretty much when Russell Westbrook started with the team and for the franchise, they pretty much had a 1-5 record. They were losing a bunch of games out there. Russ sat a couple games, especially during Minnesota, and the Wizards blew out the Timberwolves. Russell Westbrook is out for the remaining 2 seasons due to an injury, and Bradley Beal has been cranking up 40-point performances. So we're going to see Bradley Beal try to go to get an all-star selection as he was snubbed from last season. The Washington Wizards, we expected them to probably be around a 6 through an 8 seed whenever the NBA season is going to be done with. They've only played 11 games, so it is still early, but this has been an atrocious start to the Wizards, especially after the narrative that Russell Westbrook is toxic, has a bad IQ, and teams don't really want him in this day and age. So he's really going to have to adjust his game to get the Wizards going and get them in a team system because Russ did not fit with Harden and he had to adjust, which he did successfully. With the Wizards, different story. So they are a disappointment. The Pistons are somewhat of a disappointment. I expected them to pretty much miss the playoffs anyways, to be one of the bottom 13 teams in the East. They are a 3-10 record, but more on them is especially for Blake Griffin. He's had 0 dunks this whole season. He's been averaging he's been giving you around 15 to 17 a game on a daily average. Blake Griffin's been going down. He's always injury prone as it seems to be, and he's just been falling off. It's not been a good look for him. I don't know what the Pistons situation is going to be, how they would trade his $30 million contract. So they're stuck in that position as of right now. The Pistons still have Derrick Rose and Dwayne Casey. They're trying to chase mediocrity to stay pretty much aloof and somewhat not box office, but pretty much be competitive. It makes no sense. They need to blow it up. They've been a disappointment. More on the Blake Griffin, not really on the team. The Toronto Raptors are a 5-8 record, 13 in the Eastern Conference. I swear, there was so many Raptors fans telling me that the Raptors would pretty much be a 2nd through a 4 seed, and that we were disrespecting the Raptors because we had them around 6 seed or below. I've had the Toronto Raptors finishing the 6th seed in the Eastern Conference before the season, and right now they're at a 5-8 record. Now I said losing Marc Gasol and Serge Ibaka were huge losses. These are championship starting centers in the NBA, and each of them went to the Clippers and to the Lakers, and they're filling their starting position very well. The Toronto Raptors lost a championship culture and identity by losing those 2 big men. Again, it's for the culture and identity, and then as well as losing big men. You brought in Alex Len, you brought in Aaron Baines. They just let go of Alex Len, and Aaron Baines, that's too much pressure and a workload for him. Second thing with the Toronto Raptors, Pascal Siakam. He's still young. He won a championship. I'll give him some leniency. But when it comes to Pascal Siakam, he needs to average more for your team. He needs to be more an offensive player. Because Kyle Lowry is getting up there in age. And you just re-signed Fran VanVleet for around 17 to 20 mil a season. So the Raptors right now, they have a lot of internal changes that need to be made. And they may have to go a new direction pretty soon. But it's only been around 13 games for them. They'll start to pick it back up. The Miami Heat at a 5-7 record. Not a good start for them after making the NBA Finals. And especially after declining James Harden within that trade. The Miami Heat are more of a playoff team. They're still fine in the regular season. I expected them to finish a 5th seed, but still somewhat early, but not a good look for them at all. And it could be due to fatigue because they just came out of the NBA Finals around 2.5 months ago. Who else we got here in the NBA? Nothing really much in the East. I mean, you do have the Atlanta Hawks, still early. They're at a 6-7 record, but more on Trae Young due to his problems, issues, and for him not really get going. So you got to keep an eye on Trae Young. Been somewhat of a disappointment to the start of this season. Hey, kudos to the teams in the East that have kind of not really shocked me, but you got to give them credit. Are the New York Knicks at a 7-8 record with Tom Thibodeau. He usually likes to run an 8-man lineup, 8 to 9, and they will play him around 40 minutes a night. So these young guys are getting out there. They're being grittier. It's a good thing for New York. It's been a lot of toxicity within that environment, but they're gaining some respect. So kudos to them as of right now. Do I expect them to continue this phase? No, I do not. Because it's a 72-game season. And they're going to get fatigued out there playing 40 minutes a night. Also, shout out to the Charlotte Hornets and LaMelo Ball. I expected them to be pretty much in the position they've been. Same thing with LaMelo. I've always been highly on him, even since the draft. I've always predicted him to be Rookie of the Year, so nothing really shocking me as of right now. Let's jump over into the Western Conference. Okay, first team, somewhat of a disappointment as of so far, is pretty much going to be the New Orleans Pelicans. It's still early. They're at a 5-8 record. They're a young team, so I'm not going to knock them too much on it. But they did have a promising start. They were pretty much around a 5-5 record or 4-4, and they were getting things going. The bad thing with the Pelicans the last couple of games, they lost the last 4 out of 6 games pretty much by a couple points. They were very close. They even went to overtime, but they could never clutch it out and get it done with. And the Pelicans, they need Brandon Ingram to be that guy late and deep. And there's really not a second guy who can be clutch like that. Zion does not really have a go-to shot. Lonzo Ball, that's not happening. So Pelicans really got to pick it up on their pace, especially in the Western Conference to where there's more formidable teams. Two teams that are somewhat of a disappointment to the start are the Dallas Mavericks and the Denver Nuggets. Now I'm going to give credit to the Mavericks or give them a pass because Kristaps Porzingis was hurt pretty much for the first half of the games. And Luka out there pretty much was doing things solo dolo with his new team. So I'm not going to knock them too much. The Mavericks are finally kind of picking a groove, picking up pace, and they got KP back. So Dallas Mavericks, they'll easily be in the playoffs. The Denver Nuggets came off a conference finals appearance. Now, they were pretty much, I believe they were around a 3-7 record earlier this season, but then now they're 7-7. The Denver Nuggets, you lost Jeremy Grant, who's pretty much a front runner to win Most Improved Player, or one of the top 3 guys. You lost Plumlee. You lost Torrey Craig. So you lost some big pieces out there, great rotation players, and you really didn't fill in those holes or gaps. So the Denver Nuggets right now do have that fatigue, let alone they need to pick it up on their pace. Those were 2 somewhat disappointments as well. Besides from that, there's really nothing else in the West. Teams that kind of shocked me in a good way are the Utah Jazz at a 10-4 record. They're second seed in the Western Conference. Very low-key. No one's really talking about the Jazz. And hey, kudos to them, to Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, who just got paid. But besides from that, those are pretty much around the 7 to 8 teams that have pretty much been disappointments as of so far. It's still early in the NBA, but we'll cover a little more in depth coming into here. Let me know what you guys think below about disappointing teams and if it's going to continue to happen this season or new teams that can be in the mix. I'm out.